Jang Ki-yong for years, the rumor that simply will not die. Picture this. It's 2021 and my roommate is a Gumiho is blowing up on social media. The chemistry between Jang Ki-yong and his co-star Hye-ri isn't just good, it's electric. So palpable that fans immediately started questioning if what they were seeing was just acting. This wasn't like his previous weaker rumors with actresses like Lee Yeon-na or Ji-young. This was a full-blown viral speculation. The chatter exploded online, with netizens dissecting every single behind-the-scenes video, every interview, looking for a clue. The situation reached a fever pitch during a particular radio interview where the two were laughing, finishing each other's sentences, and exchanging looks that fans were convinced were filled with a secret intimacy. The editing on those clips certainly didn't help, making their every interaction seem charged with a meaning that went beyond professional courtesy. But here's where the controversy truly ignited, and the story took a messy turn. At the time, Hye-ri was in a very public, long-term relationship with fellow star Ryu Jin-yeol. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't just about great on-screen chemistry, it became a potential off-screen scandal. Whispers began to swirl on forums and social media platforms, with some fans insinuating that Hye-ri's real-life relationship was on the rocks precisely because of her close proximity to Jang Ki-yong. The online buzz grew so loud, so uncontrollable, that it forced a response. Hye-ri's management team had to step in and issue a public statement, firmly denying any rift in her relationship with Ryu Jin-yeol and dismissing the dating rumors with Jang Ki-yong as baseless. This is a rare and serious move in the K-drama world, a sign that the speculation had crossed a line from fan theory into potentially damaging gossip. And through all of this, where was Jang Ki-yong? He was silent. He offered no denial, no confirmation, no statement whatsoever. His agency didn't address the rumors with the same forceful tone. This silence became a story in itself. Some saw it as a dignified way to handle a false rumor, refusing to give it more oxygen. Others, however, speculated that his quietness was suspicious, a sign that there was perhaps a kernel of truth he wasn't allowed to address. This entire episode is a masterclass in how the K-entertainment machine and fan culture can create a firestorm from a single spark. The industry thrives on selling the fantasy of its on-screen couples, but when that fantasy bleeds into reality, it can create a PR nightmare. For Jang Ki-yong, this rumor, more than any other, cemented his public image as the ultimate reserved heartthrob, a man whose private life is a fortress. But that very secrecy is what keeps the public's imagination and the controversies alive and well. This wasn't an isolated incident, but rather the peak of a pattern that had been building since his career began. Long before Hye-ri, Jang Ki-yong's relationship with the public was defined by a different kind of controversy, one centered on his talent, or rather, the public's perception that he had none. Rewind to the beginning of his acting career. He entered the scene as a model, and that pretty boy label stuck to him like glue. His early roles were met with harsh criticism. Reviewers and netizens alike called him cold, stiff, and emotionally vacant. They labeled him as just another handsome face trying to act, a common and damning critique in an industry that often unfairly dismisses models turned actors. This created a simmering controversy around his very legitimacy. Every role he landed was met with a wave of online skepticism. Was this role simply handed to him on the back of his photogenic features, or was there a genuine audition based on raw talent that the public wasn't privy to? Does he have any real acting chops? This public doubt was a shadow he had to labor under for years. It wasn't a scandal in the traditional sense, but it was a persistent issue that threatened to derail his career before it even truly started. The industry itself can be brutal to actors making this transition, often pigeonholing them and refusing to take them seriously. Jang Ki-yong had to fight not just for roles, but for respect. His decision to completely immerse himself in acting classes was a direct response to this controversy. He was essentially trying to prove the court of public opinion wrong. His eventual critical acclaim in series like My Mister, and especially his breakout in Come and Hug Me, was as much a vindication as it was a success. It was the moment the narrative finally began to shift from the model who acts to the actor. But that early struggle against a skeptical public and a critical industry left a mark, making him even more guarded and determined to let his work and not his personal life do the talking. Then came what many actors consider the biggest career risk of all: mandatory military enlistment. For Jang Ki-yong, this wasn't just a hiatus. It was a potential catastrophe in the making. He was finally gaining momentum. Come and Hug Me had earned him awards, and My Roommate is a Gumiho had made him a mainstream heartthrob. The offers were pouring in. To step away at that precise moment was a huge gamble. In the hyper-competitive world of K-drama, where new faces emerge every season, an 18-month absence can be a death sentence for a career. Fans move on, producers find new favorites, and the public's memory is notoriously short. The controversy here was subtle but real. Would Jang Ki-yong be able to survive the enforced break. While he was gone, the industry chatter wasn't about what he was doing, but about whether he would be relevant when he returned. This is a silent pressure that every rising male star in South Korea faces, a period of intense professional uncertainty that hangs over their early careers. His decision to enlist without delay, without trying to postpone for one more big project, was a calculated risk. It was a choice that could either be seen as patriotic and dignified or as a disastrous miscalculation. The entire time he was away, his management had to carefully strategize his comeback, knowing that his first project post-military would be scrutinized under a microscope. Every move was analyzed. Was he staying in shape? Was he studying scripts? The silence from his camp during this period wasn't just his typical reserve. It was a strategic blackout, making his return all the more critical. This brings us to his grand return in 2025 with Dynamite Kiss. The pressure was immense. This was his moment to prove that the hiatus hadn't stalled his career, that he was more than just a pre-military fad. And with this pressure came a new modern wave of online criticism. While the drama was generally well received, a segment of the audience unleashed a new wave of scrutiny, this time focusing on his acting choices in a more nuanced and perhaps harsher way. Comments flooded forums and video review sections, not just criticizing his performance, but analyzing his very presence. He's still too stiff, some said, pointing to his character's naturally reserved nature as a lack of range. He's playing the same brooding, quiet character again, others complained, ignoring the clear evolution in his craft from his early days. A more analytical and controversial critique emerged that Jang Ki-yong had mastered one specific type of character, the quiet, handsome, internally tormented man, and was afraid to step outside that safe zone. This sparked debates among fans and critics alike. Was he a versatile actor being unfairly typecast, or was he consciously choosing roles that required minimal emotional range, relying on his looks and quiet magnetism to carry him? This controversy is less about a single scandal and more about the ongoing perception of his artistic limits. Furthermore, his almost pathological level of privacy began to work against him in the social media age. Unlike other stars who build their brand through reality shows, YouTube vlogs, or candid social media posts, Jang Ki-yong offered nothing. This vacuum of information led to a different kind of problem. It allowed rumors to fester. Without any official narrative, fans and anti-fans alike were free to create their own. The old Hye-ri rumors resurfaced in comment sections. Whispers about other completely unsubstantiated flings would appear out of thin air. His silence, once seen as dignified, was now being interpreted by some as aloofness or even arrogance. In an industry that increasingly demands accessibility and a relatable persona, Jang Ki-yong's steadfast refusal to play that game became a controversy in its own right. Was he a private man respecting his own boundaries, or was he out of touch with the demands of a modern celebrity career? So where does this leave the enigmatic Jang Ki-yong? The central unifying controversy of his career isn't one single event, but the pervasive aura of mystery he cultivates. In a world where everything is shared, his silence is deafening. This has created a permanent state of speculation around him. Every choice he makes is dissected because he offers no explanation. Every on-screen chemistry is magnified because he reveals no off-screen relationships. The industry, with its insatiable appetite for content and drama, both fuels and frustrates this image. They market his dramas using his appealing, mysterious persona, but that same persona makes it difficult to control the narratives that spring up around him. The fan culture, desperate for a glimpse behind the curtain, is left to read between the lines of his very few interviews, often reading meaning into his carefully chosen words where there likely is none. The impact of all these intertwined controversies has been paradoxical. On one hand, they have prevented him from achieving the level of ubiquitous, open-hearted fame of some of his peers. You won't see him as the go-to guest for wacky variety shows. On the other hand, this very distance has crafted an image of sophistication and seriousness. It has allowed him to transition from a boyish model to a mature leading man without the baggage of overexposure. The controversies over his acting pushed him to improve relentlessly. The rumors about his love life, while frustrating, have kept his name constantly in conversation. The gamble of military service ultimately paid off, allowing him to return with a more mature, weightier presence that finally silenced his harshest critics. In the end, Jang Ki-yong's story is a testament to the fact that in the modern entertainment landscape, a controversy doesn't have to be a single explosive scandal. It can be a slow-burning, persistent set of questions that shape a career. For him, the questions are his talent, his choices, and most of all, his secret life. And by never fully answering them, he has managed to stay compelling, controversial, and utterly unforgettable.